I want you to imagine a scenario with me. Imagine you own a business and you are conducting a job interview for a new money manager. A candidate walks in, sits down, and hands you their resume. You look at the qualifications and you can't believe what you are seeing. This candidate promises to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They never sleep, they never take a coffee break, they never ask for a raise. They have zero emotions, no fear, no greed, no panic. But here's the crazy part. This candidate has a track record that beats 99% of the most expensive Ivy League educated hedge fund managers on Wall Street. Even the legendary Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha himself, has struggled to keep up with this candidate over the last 15 years. And when you ask this candidate, how much do you charge? They look at you and say, I charge virtually nothing. For every $10,000 you give me, I will take the price of a cheap cup of coffee once a year. If this person existed, you would hire them on the spot, right? You would think you found the ultimate cheat code to wealth. Well, I have good news for you. This candidate exists. But it isn't a person. It is a code. It is an algorithm. For years, the financial industry has tried to convince us that investing is complicated. They tell us we need to pay them high fees, sometimes 1 or 2% of our wealth, because they have the secret sauce. They sit in their high-rise towers, wearing expensive suits, telling us that we aren't smart enough to handle our own money. But the data tells a different story. The system is often designed to extract fees from us, not to generate returns for us. We are often just the fuel for their machine. Today, we are going to flip the script. We're going to look at how we can fire the expensive middlemen and hire the perfect employee. We're going to talk about the NASDAQ 100 and, more importantly, the specific strategy to wield this weapon correctly. We're going to explore the hidden versions of this fund that Wall Street doesn't advertise, the ones that are cheaper, the ones that generate income, and the ones that capture the next wave of growth. This is about taking back control. It is about automating our success so we can stop stressing about the market and start living our lives. Before we get to the specific tickers, we need to understand why this strategy works. We need to understand why a simple algorithm humiliates professional investors year after year. It comes down to a report called SPIVA S and P indices versus active. Most people never read this report, but it is the most important document in finance. The latest data is brutal. Over a 15-year period ending in 2025, approximately 92 to 98% of large-cap active fund managers failed to beat their benchmark index. Think about that. These are professionals. They have Bloomberg terminals, insider connections, and teams of analysts. And yet, nearly all of them failed to beat a simple robot. Why? Because they are human. Humans get scared when the market crashes, we hesitate. Humans get greedy when the market rips, we buy the top. And humans have egos. We hold on to losing stocks because we don't want to admit we were wrong. The NASDAQ 100 doesn't have an ego. It operates on a ruthless mechanism called the auto purge. This is the secret sauce. Every year, the index rebalances. It looks at the top 100 non-financial companies on the NASDAQ exchange. It ranks them by market cap. If a company is performing well, it stays. If a company is shrinking, think about the giants of the past, like Yahoo or BlackBerry. The algorithm kicks them out. It shows them no mercy. And in their place, it adds the new winners. It added Tesla when it was rising. It added Moderna. It added Nvidia. This is survival of the fittest on autopilot. By owning this index, we are guaranteeing that our portfolio always holds the winners and automatically cuts the losers. We don't have to stay up at 2 a.m. reading balance sheets. The code does it for us. But there is another reason why the NASDAQ destroys the competition. It is called the R&D mode. Research and development is the lifeblood of the future. The companies in the S&P 500 spend a respectable amount on R&D. But the NASDAQ 100 companies, they reinvest a massive percentage of every dollar they make back into the lab. They are spending nearly 11% of their sales on innovation. Think of it like two students. One student spends his money on parties and clothes. The other student invests his money in learning new skills and building businesses. 10 years later, who is going to be wealthier? It isn't even a question. The NASDAQ is the student who is building the future. Now, let's get to the practical part. How do we actually invest in this? Most people know the famous ticker QQQ. QQQ is the 5th largest ETF in the world. It is a beast. But here is the secret that most retail investors miss. QQQ might not be the best choice for you. QQQ was built for institutions. It is built for traders who need to move millions of dollars in seconds. It has high liquidity, which is great if you are a day trader. But it charges an expense ratio of 0.2%. That sounds low, but we can do better. In 2020, Invesco launched a secret weapon for long-term investors like us, QQQM. QQQM is the exact same fund. It holds the exact same stocks. It has the exact same performance. But there is one critical difference. It is cheaper. The expense ratio is 0.15%. You might think that 0.05% doesn't matter. But math is real. Over 30 years, on a large portfolio, that tiny difference compounds into thousands of dollars. That is money that belongs in your pocket, not Wall Street's pocket. So the rule is simple. If you are trading options or holding for less than a day, use QQQ. But if you are building wealth for your family and holding for years, use QQQM. Don't pay a penny more than you have to. But what if you want more? What if you want to find the next NVIDIA before it becomes a trillion-dollar giant? This is where QQQJ comes in. This is the next generation ETF. QQQ holds the top 100 companies. QQQJ holds the companies ranked 101 to 200. These are the hungry wolves. These are the mid-cap growth companies that are desperate to get into the big leagues. Historically, many of today's giants spend time in this minor league before graduating to the QQQ. By allocating a small portion of our portfolio to QQQJ, we are betting on the future stars. However, we must be careful. This fund is more volatile. It is a satellite position, not the core. Now, I know some of us are closer to retirement. We love the idea of tech stocks, but we need cash flow. We need income to pay the bills. For us, there is QQQI. This is a newer concept. It holds the Nasdaq stocks, but it uses an option strategy called covered calls to generate income. It pays out a monthly yield that is significantly higher than a savings account. But remember, there is no free lunch in financial markets. The cost of that high income is capped upside. If we enter a massive bull run where tech stocks rip 20% higher, QQQI might only give us 12% because we sold away our upside for cash today. If the market goes sideways, which happens often, QQQI is a kingmaker. It pays us while everyone else is waiting. It depends entirely on your goals. Now, we need to have a serious conversation about the nuclear option. I see so many people on social media talking about TQQQ. This is the 3x leveraged ETF. The promise is seductive. If the Nasdaq goes up 1%, TQQQ goes up 3%. It sounds like a fast track to becoming a millionaire. But there is a trap here that destroys many unsuspecting investors. It is called volatility decay. If the market drops 10% today, TQQQ drops 30%. To get back to even, the market needs to rise 11%. But because TQQQ dropped so much, it needs to rise 43% just to break even. If the market chops sideways, up and down, TQQQ will slowly bleed your money to death, even if the index hasn't moved. This is not a buy and hold investment. This is a tactical tool for experienced traders. If you buy this and forget about it, you are playing with fire. And please, stay away from SQQQ. That is the inverse fund. It bets on the market crashing. Unless you are using it for a very specific short-term hedge for a few weeks, owning this is literally donating your money to the market. The stock market has an upward bias over time. Betting against American innovation is historically a losing bet. So how do we put this all together? What does a winning battle plan look like for 2026? I suggest looking at a core satellite strategy. Think of your portfolio like a solar system. The sun, the massive center of gravity, should be QQQM. This is 60% to 70% of your allocation. It is your bunker. You buy it, you hold it, you never touch it. It gives you the exposure to Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, and the engines of our economy. Then you have the planets orbiting the sun. These are your satellites. Maybe you put 15% in TQQQJTO, catch that extra growth from the mid-caps. Maybe you put 15% into a specific sector you believe in, like semiconductors. Chips are the oil of the 21st century. If you believe AI is the future, you need to own the chip makers. This strategy gives you the safety of the broad index, but the extra juice from the high growth sectors. There is one more advanced tactic for those who want to be disciplined: value averaging. We all know dollar cost averaging, putting in $500 every month. That is good, but value averaging is better. You set a goal for your portfolio's growth. Let's say you want your account to grow by $1,000 every month. If the market crashes and your account value drops, the math forces you to contribute more money, maybe $2,000, to hit your target. This forces you to buy the dip aggressively when stocks are on sale. If the market rips higher and your account is up huge, the math tells you to contribute less, or maybe even sell a little. This prevents you from FOMOing into the top. It is a disciplined way to force yourself to buy low and sell high, removing your emotions from the equation. Let's wrap this up. We have spoken about a lot of tickers and strategies today, but the core message is simple. The Nasdaq 100 is not just a ticker symbol. It is a bet on human optimism. When we buy this, we are betting that next year, technology will be better than this year. We are betting that efficiency will improve. We are betting that unless an asteroid hits the Earth, progress will not stop. If you believe that basic truth, then investing doesn't have to be hard. We don't need to try to be smarter than the market. We don't need to stress about the daily news cycles or the talking heads predicting doom. We can simply hire the perfect employee, the code that works for us. Stop overthinking it. Embrace simplicity, buy the code, go to sleep, go live your life. Let the cold, heartless, efficient algorithm work for you 24 hours a day. That is how we win. That is how we escape the rat race. Stay liquid, stay safe, and remember, time in the market beats timing the market. I'll see you in the next video.